I set out on a journey a few weeks ago, fully surrendering to God's voice. Full surrender, full obedience, laid everything on the line. I'm talking obedience like walk away from your job, obedience like give up your formal known home as safety, and trust God with all of me. I'm getting married in a month, and if you've been following me for a time, you know that I've been on the Kingdom spouse journey. I have consecrated, purified, walked in obedience in my dating experience, fasted, prayed, all of the things, trusting for God to bring me the spouse that He has for me. And in that, we're transitioning into becoming one. And so what does that look like whenever you are shedding that old wineskin so that God can pour the new wine into you? It doesn't come without immense spiritual battle, because it's the promise, right? The promise that God has is promised me, and if you are a woman of God watching, I'm sure He has promised you, or you are living in your promise. Maybe God is promising you something else, but whatever God is promising you comes with walking out of Egypt and into, you don't go straight to the promised land, you go into the wilderness. And in the wilderness, I want to talk with you about the chaos that comes. The chaos is all of the noise, all of the expectations that you had, because we're all going to subconsciously have expectations of what we think it's going to look like. The noise from other people saying you're crazy, like, why are you doing this? Are you sure you hear from God? Your own internal battle against insecurity, doubt, fear, all of the things. Okay? The chaos is not the problem. When you know that you know that you know that you know, when you have tested and you have tried the Word of God that He has given you, the action to take, and you have fasted and you have prayed and you know in your heart that God is leading you to do this, it is not the problem. It is the proving ground. It is the ground where you stand when everything else looks like it's falling apart. And you can take a step back and take a breath and say in your heart, you know what? Even if it does all fall apart, I know that you called me to this. So you can surrender and you can submit to knowing whatever the outcome is, even if it doesn't look how you expected it to, is the outcome needed to continue getting you to your promise. Okay, Caleb was one of the 12 spies. He stood firm when everyone else was shaken. So in your chaos, God is asking, will you believe me when no one else does? When no one else believes that you are hearing God tell you to do this extravagant thing, will you trust Him? You don't need confirmation from people when you have a word from God. And you will be proven in the heat of the fire. I literally just experienced this yesterday. And I stood at a moment where it could have gone two different ways. But God showed up. God showed up with peace. God showed up with clarity. God showed up with love. God showed up with grace. And it wipes out what the next point, which identity isn't found in the promise. It's formed in the wilderness. You come into your identity in God in the wilderness, not in the promise. Caleb had to wait 40 years, but he never lost who he was. How many of y'all are 40, 45, 25, 35? Doesn't matter how old you are. You feel in your spirit that you have been waiting for this promise to come to pass your whole entire life. I know I have. Okay? This is where God builds you in private, not in public. It is in the secret place when you don't have a platform, when you haven't seen the full fruition of the promise yet, that God builds you. Identity stepping is when you walk in faith, even if it's not your time yet. I know in my journey of dating, of course I did all of my inner healing, self-love, so I was so happy in my singleness because I knew that God had a promise to bring me the husband that he had for me. So I was happy in the waiting. I was happy in the dating whenever I got to test and try what the counterfeit was like, what the ones who didn't add up to the promise and the vision that God gave me. I was happy in all of that. God is watching if you carry the weight before he hands you the crown. If you can carry the weight of the waiting, if you enjoy, if you can carry the testing and perseverance, if you can carry the chaos in faith, not saying you won't falter, and at some moments you will feel like, oh my gosh, the enemy wants to convince you that you did not hear from the Lord. He wants to convince you that everyone involved to help you carry out that promise is actually against you. He wants you to believe the lies. But if you have a tiny seed, mustard seed of no matter what, God, I will serve you, no matter what, I will continue forward, that is how you receive the crown. And when you are ready, the promise looks like a fight, not a fantasy. Caleb didn't ask for ease. He asked for the mountain with giants on it. Being ready doesn't mean you feel strong. It means your spirit is willing to war for what is yours. And that was the conclusion that I had to a night last night, that it seemed like, I'm talking financially, mentally, emotionally, physically. I mean, the battle was on. And I surrendered to fight, not bow, not give up, not run away, not go back into Egypt, where I was, they were all complaining that they were better, well taken care of as slaves. No, I'm going to fight right here for the promise to be fulfilled. The promised land isn't just a place, it's a mindset. It is where God says, now take it. Now it's yours. Now we have to become people of God, fortified in our faith, mind rightly aligned with the word of God, spirit aligned with the fruit, to receive the promise. So I want to encourage you, if you are on the journey of walking in obedience, whatever your promise is, I want to encourage you that the battle is the proof that you are hearing God. You are moving in the direction that the enemy wants to do anything in his power to stop you from surrender, submission, obedience, trust, faith, and joy. Joy. If at any minute the chaos seems too high, throw up your hands. Sing a praise to the Lord. This is how I fight my battles. This is how I fight my battles. Whatever the song is in your spirit, sing it to the Lord. Trust in the word. Claim it. Declare it. And know that you are a warrior for the kingdom of heaven, and God has a plan for you, and it's not over yet. Have a blessed day. Check out the link in the bio. We have a book called The Art of Kingdom Living and some other free disciple resources that we have created just for you to help you on your journey just like us. Have a blessed day.